Husband caught his beautiful wife with another man in his house, and what he did next will shock you. Hey guys, today we bring you another intriguing movie that will keep you at the edge of your seat. Sit tight as we dive into this fascinating story. Please don't forget to subscribe for more amazing movies from us. The movie begins with Mr. David happily setting the breakfast table for himself and his beautiful wife. Just then, Mrs. Anita, already running late for work, came downstairs. He begged her to eat something before leaving, and she agreed. She finished eating and rushed out as her phone kept ringing. Hours later, when Mr. David was about to leave for work, their maid informed him to buy his favorite drink on his way back home because the man who constantly visited his wife in his absence had finished it. This left him shocked and angered. Furious, he warned the maid that if she was lying, he would deal with her, then drove out. At the office, Mr. David was so lost staring at his phone that he didn't hear the knock when his friend and colleague, Bucci, walked in. Bucci was surprised and asked what was bothering him, but David insisted he was fine. They talked about work and checked some files, but David still looked deeply troubled by what the maid had told him. Later that evening, he returned home with the drink and asked the maid if the man she mentioned had come again. She said no, explaining that the man only came every Wednesday. This left David even more disturbed. At night, Mr. David and his wife had dinner with his friend Bucci and Bucci's wife, Uju. They laughed and drank together until Bucci asked about the ministration. The question angered David, and without realizing it, he raised his voice at everyone, saying he would never associate with a drug peddler. Everyone was shocked and scared by the outburst. Later, he apologized and sadly shared the story of how his younger brother got involved in drugs and how that destroyed him. He became emotional and everyone felt concerned, but Anita looked even more terrified. The next morning, Mr. David was getting ready for work while Anita sat on the bed looking restless. He asked about her plans for the day, and she said she had none. But when he asked her to visit him at the office for lunch, she quickly lied, saying she had to visit a friend but would stop by later. Before leaving, he also asked why she withdrew $700,000 from their joint account. She lied again, saying it was for a friend's asoebi. This made David suspicious, but he kissed her and left. Later that day, Anita was seen kneeling and begging a man named Mofi. Suddenly, her husband David entered and immediately attacked Mofi, who ran away. Enraged, David believed his wife was cheating. Anita cried and begged, insisting it was not what he thought, but he refused to believe her. He ran outside searching for Mofi, but couldn't find him. Suspicious, David questioned the gateman, who fearfully confirmed that the same man often came to the house. This broke David's heart, and he felt betrayed by the woman he trusted the most. That night, David returned home after trying to clear his head. He refused to let his wife touch him and went straight to his room, leaving Anita in tears. The next morning, a helpless Anita shared her situation with Uju, who was shocked and worried. She advised Anita to confess everything to her husband, but Anita feared he would never forgive her. She remembered how emotional he was when he talked about his younger brother and how drugs had destroyed him. She couldn't bring herself to tell him that she once sold drugs, stole money, and worked as a stripper just to survive. Still, Uju insisted she tell him the truth, leaving Anita confused and scared. The next morning, the maid served Anita the breakfast she prepared for her, but Anita refused, saying she wasn't hungry. She walked away, leaving the maid to talk badly about her in her absence. Later that day, Anita met with Mofi in an open space and pleaded with him, offering him a check of also $5 million just to stop blackmailing her with a video of her stripping. Mofi accepted the check and promised to leave the country and start a new life. Anita then deleted the video from his phone. As she was leaving, Mofi demanded a farewell hug, or else he would return to her house again. Left with no choice, Anita innocently hugged him and left, believing she was finally free, unaware that the worst was yet to happen. That night, Mr. David returned from work, fuming. He handed Anita an envelope, and when she opened it, she was shocked. Her husband had hired someone to follow her and had pictures of her in Mofi's arms. Anita felt disrespected and upset. David, furious and ashamed, believed she had been cheating and lying all along. Disappointed, He ended their marriage immediately, leaving Anita helpless and heartbroken. A few days later, a distressed Anita rushed to Uju's house, crying that her husband had not been home for days and wasn't answering her calls. She feared the marriage was truly over, but Uju tried to comfort her, assuring her that David would return and forgive her. Anita left feeling slightly consoled. Later that day, Anita returned home and found her husband in the pool with another woman. In disbelief, she stood there, shocked. David came out and openly told her that he wanted a divorce. Anita was furious as she fearlessly expressed her anger and disappointment, believing David had been cheating on her long ago and only needed an excuse to reveal it. Unfortunately for her, David had already made up his mind. He told her to wait for his lawyers, leaving Anita broken and sad as she ran back to her friend, who consoled her. That night, David, overwhelmed and lost in his thoughts, was alone when Jasmine, his new lover, came in trying to get him in the mood. But David, not feeling it, gently pushed her off and asked her to leave until his mind was clear. She left quietly. The next day, Anita and David officially signed their divorce papers with their lawyers as witnesses. It wasn't easy for either of them, and the pain was visible in their eyes. The following day, Anita and David met with the agent who was supposed to help sell their house. The agent promised to sell it at a good price so David could get back the money he invested in building it. But David took all the credit, claiming he built the house alone, causing an argument before they angrily parted ways. Inside the house, Anita, still furious, called her friend to share her frustrations about how David had undermined her and mocked her. She said marriage felt like a scam, but Uju calmed her down and promised to visit her the next day. That night, Mr. David received a call from his lawyer requesting an urgent meeting between him and his ex-wife. David told him to call Anita directly, then ended the call. The following day, the lawyer shared his concerns about the difficulty in selling the house. Potential buyers complained that the house was still occupied, while others said they couldn't buy a house from divorced couples, claiming it brought bad luck. David and Anita were shocked. The lawyer advised them to get separate apartments so the house could be free for inspection. They agreed. The plan was to sell the house and share the properties equally. The lawyer gave them 1 month to find new places, while David also prepared to process his visa. They thanked him and left. Days later, David shared his concerns with Bucci at the office. He explained how difficult it would be to stay in the same house with Anita for a whole month, and how Jasmine kept disturbing him with calls, giving him no time to think. This left him more confused and worried. The next morning, David was making coffee with 2 cups as usual before remembering that he and Anita were divorced. He quickly put 1 cup away and made only his. It was clear that staying in the same space with the woman he once loved would not be easy. Some days later, David brought Jasmine home. They laughed and played loudly, flaunting their relationship in front of Anita before going into his room. Anita felt sad and insulted. She immediately called Uju and poured out her anger, but Uju advised her to remain calm. The next morning, Anita went for her morning jog when a young handsome man approached her, trying to get her attention. At first, she ignored him, but when she noticed David watching, she immediately acted interested and gave the man her number. David was angry and fuming, but composed himself as she walked into the house. Later that day, Anita told Uju about the encounter, but Uju, concerned, advised her not to get involved with another man. Anita refused, insisting that she wanted David to taste his own medicine so they could be even. That night, Anita was in her room, scrolling through her phone when the loud noises from David and Jasmine's room disturbed her. Angry, she stood up to confront them, but stopped herself, knowing David would think she was jealous. She sat back, struggling with the noise. The following day, Teju, the young man Anita had given her number to, came to look for her because the number she gave him wasn't going through. Unfortunately, Anita wasn't home, so David attended to him. David tried to chase him away, claiming Anita wasn't interested in him, which was why she gave him a wrong number. But Teju didn't give up. He even offered to pay David for Anita's real number, expressing how much he liked her. This angered David, and he chased him out. Later that day, Anita was at Uju's home, begging to stay with her until she found her own apartment, saying she couldn't bear staying in the same space with David and his girlfriend. Uju gladly accepted, leaving Anita relieved and thankful. That night, David was secretly waiting for Anita to return. But when Jasmine came and confronted him, he denied waiting for anyone, claiming he only stepped out to clear his head. He sent her back inside. But when he saw Anita walking in, he quickly stopped Jasmine and began playing with her to make Anita jealous. Anita, pained, ignored them and went upstairs. In her room, she expressed her sadness and frustration. The next day, David was having breakfast when Anita came downstairs with her luggage. Surprised, he asked where she was going. Suddenly, Teju walked in, shocking both of them, especially David. He tried to make Teju leave, but Anita quickly welcomed him. She didn't know she had mistyped the number and immediately corrected it and apologized. She even invited him to stay for breakfast, which he accepted, leaving David jealous and upset. Minutes later, Anita and Teju were enjoying breakfast while David watched them angrily. Teju asked why David was staring at him like that and who he was to Anita, but Anita told him to ignore him. Furious, David left for his room, ranting and pacing, while Jasmine worried that he still loved his ex-wife. Anita later saw Teju off. Even though she looked sad and worried, she still promised to meet him some other time before he left. Back inside, David, still furious, confronted Anita for bringing another man into his home. But Anita spoke back, giving him a piece of her mind. She was ready for the trouble and took her bag inside, saying she was not leaving again. Guys, it seems these two are in for a very big ride of war. The following day, David was busy on his laptop when Jasmine came in, trying to play with him and suggesting they go out to have fun. Immediately, he remembered how Anita used to hold him that way, the love and laughter they once shared. But sadly, it was not Anita holding him now, it was Jasmine. He became sad and politely pushed her away, telling her he was busy and didn't have the time. Jasmine, disappointed, walked out. That night, Anita dressed up beautifully, looking glamorous and glowing, and sprayed her most seductive perfume, just to see if her ex-husband David could resist her. As she walked out, David saw her and curiously asked where she was going. She replied, "Clubbing," surprising him. The perfume caught his attention immediately. It was the same one he bought for her. Unable to resist, David leaned in to kiss her when Jasmine suddenly came downstairs, interrupting the moment. Anita, disappointed, walked away while Jasmine looked angry at David for being so close to his ex-wife. Anita, overwhelmed, stopped at Uju's house and confessed she still loved David but wanted to get the feeling out of her mind. Uju, not surprised, told her there was nothing she could do. David was her first true love. This left Anita confused and disturbed. Late that night, David anxiously waited for Anita's return, worried she wasn't home on time. When he finally heard footsteps, he quickly hid as Anita entered, pretending to be on a call with her imaginary boyfriend. David stepped out afterward, looking sad and jealous. Guys, could these two ever truly get over each other, or are they trapped in a love they both deny? The following day, Teju came to pick up Anita for a date. David, fuming, tried to question her. Jasmine came downstairs and immediately suggested they all go out together for a double date. Teju agreed, leaving David and Anita with no choice but to follow. At the bar, the four of them sat together, talking and getting to know each other. Teju asked Anita about her marital status, and she replied that she would officially be single in a month and was looking for an apartment. Teju offered to help her get one, but David objected strongly. Anita, however, quickly accepted the offer just to torment David even more. They continued their fun, eating and talking, with Anita completely ignoring David's expression and mood. Later that evening at home, Jasmine, furious and disappointed, confronted David for constantly staring at Anita throughout their outing while ignoring her completely. Angry, she told him she was done with him since he clearly still loved his ex-wife. She stormed out, leaving David overwhelmed and confused. Moments later, Jasmine returned with her luggage and told David to call her when he was truly over Anita. But to her shock, David simply said, "Okay." This angered and embarrassed her even more as she dashed out. That same night, Teju dropped Anita off. He expressed his interest in her, but told her to take her time and think before responding. Anita was speechless and overwhelmed as she went inside. Inside, David tried to speak with her, but Anita ignored him and walked away. The following morning, Anita was fully dressed to leave the house when David stopped her and handed her a cup of tea, pleading that they talk. But Anita, uninterested, told him unapologetically that they were done for good since he never listened to her in the first place. She walked out, leaving David confused and devastated. Later at David's office, he expressed his frustration to his friend Bucci about how Anita had been flaunting Teju before him, and how challenging it was for him to handle it. Suddenly, it struck them. The man David caught her with earlier was not Teju. Something was off, but they couldn't figure out what it was. Later that evening, Anita returned home, but was shocked to see the door already open. She noticed drops of blood on the floor. Thinking David was in danger, she ran upstairs to check on him. The blood trail continued into her room, but to her horror, it wasn't David. It was Mofi, coming out of her bathroom with a gun. Terrified, she jumped back, asking what he wanted. Mofi, in pain, complained that he had lost everything and was in serious trouble, threatening Anita. Just then, David returned and innocently headed to his room, unaware of the danger. Moments later, the doorbell rang. He answered it, and to his disappointment, it was Teju. Teju immediately noticed the blood on the floor, and both men quickly ran upstairs to Anita's room, quietly listening at the door. Inside, Mofi was threatening Anita, demanding she pay him the millions he requested, claiming she destroyed his life and would pay for it. Anita, scared, begged that she had no money. Mofi then demanded that she sleep with him instead, shocking her as he tried to force himself on her. Immediately, David and Teju burst in and attacked Mofi from behind, saving Anita. Moments later, Mofi was tied up while Teju called the police, and David took Anita outside. Hours later, the police took Mofi away while Teju and Anita watched. Teju confirmed that David wasn't just her flatmate, but her ex-husband. He didn't get offended, but told her that if she ever changed her mind about David, he would be open to receive her. This gesture left Anita thankful and touched as he left. Back inside, David realized Mofi had been blackmailing Anita all along, and she never told him as her husband, making him believe they were having an affair. Overwhelmed, Anita broke down in tears and opened up to him about everything. She told him about her past, how her uncle gave her out to men at a young age. She managed to run away at 19, where she met a group who introduced her to prostitution, drug dealing, and stripping. Mofi was her handler and also slept with her, refusing to let her quit. One day, she stole from a rich client and escaped, but the client caught Mofi instead and put him in jail for her crime. Unfortunately, Mofi later found her and began blackmailing her to pay him. However, Anita used the money she stole to go to school and changed her life to become a better person, until Mofi returned and brought up her past to destroy her life. David was shocked and heartbroken as Anita sincerely apologized to him. He then asked if she ever slept with Mofi on the day he caught them, but Anita told him the truth. She never did. Mofi had only come to demand money or he would expose her, and he also demanded a blowjob, but she didn't give in before David walked in on them. David also asked if she ever used drugs, and she said she didn't. Hearing all this, David was disappointed and hated himself for not trusting her. He apologized sincerely for assuming she was cheating. The moment became warm as they both expressed their apologies. The following day, Anita was packing her clothes to leave when David entered. Shocked, he asked where she was going, and Anita said she was leaving the house, believing that now he knew her past, he wouldn't see her the same way again. Already regretting his actions, David told her he didn't want to lose her again. He said he loved her and couldn't live without her, and that their divorce no longer mattered. They could make it irrelevant and be together again. Anita was deeply touched and emotional as the two reconciled as a happy couple in love. From that day forward, they lived happily, spending quality time together, bonding, playing, and promising to always trust and listen to each other no matter the situation. Indeed, trust is key to having a healthy and beautiful relationship or marriage. But once it is broken, it becomes very difficult to fix. Also, do not assume, find closure, or seek the right information so you don't end up hating the wrong thing or person. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating movies like this from us. See you next time. Bye!